Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Embodied Leadership in Action podcast. My name is Sumaya K. Owens, and I'm the CEO and founder of Present Moment Media, a trauma informed yoga teacher, and the founder of Embodied Leadership Collective. Welcome to Embodied Leadership in Action, where we explore what it means to lead with presence, authenticity, and embodied awareness. It's our first ever podcast episode. We're so excited to have Aisha Adams on our podcast today as our first guest. And I know she has so many juicy nuggets to share with us today. Welcome, Aisha.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so grateful to have you here. I would love for you to start by just sharing with us a little bit about you and the type of leadership work you do.
My name is Aisha Adams. I am founder of Aisha Adams Media Group. I specialize in consultation, facilitation, and strategy and executive leadership work. Mostly working with nonprofit organizations and small organizations and large organizations to help create change in policy practices and procedures.
Thank you so much again for being here. I've been inspired by your leadership in so many different ways over the years. And so it's a real honor to have you here with us. And you recently published a new book. This is what made me. We're really excited to dive into the book and really peeling back the layers of so many juicy chapters. But before we get started talking about the book, I'd love to just dig a little bit deeper into a couple of leadership topics with you.
Mhm.
My next question is in terms of embodied leadership, is there a specific embodiment practice that helps you to feel grounded as a leader? And what practice helps you to stay connected to your body when things feel shaky or uncertain?
Yeah. I have like a whole system of things that I have to do. One of them is like eating right and eating well so that I can hear what my body has to say and it's not playing tricks on me. Another one is I have a tiny yoga practice, and I think that has really saved my life. I was someone who suffered from like back pain and leg pain and pain and pain. And so when I'm able to stretch and I'm able to feel strong in my body doing long, shaky planks and downward dogging, and it kind of helps me sort of like get grounded and again hear what my body has to say beyond like that physical pain. So I do that. And like in the spiritual practice, I read a lot of spiritual texts and listen, and I try to meditate. And my meditation practice is even tinier than my yoga practice, but I'm 4 years into both of them and just really trying to like emotionally regulate, make sure I am rested, make sure I am eating well so that what I'm giving out isn't harmful and that it's like approachable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love what you said about how it's so much easier to listen to your body when you don't have all these other confusing signals about am I in pain or did I not eat well yesterday and now I'm feeling it today. I really appreciate you sharing that. It definitely resonates with me as well. My next question is leadership often asks us to override what our bodies are telling us. It often drives us to push through exhaustion or ignore feelings of burnout. However, whenever we push ourselves too hard, it can sometimes have a less than positive impact on our capacity as leaders. How do you navigate that balance?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote about this in the book. If
Yeah.
you read, I didn't like that about myself. I talk about how within 24 hours of being released from the hospital after having a hysterectomy, I was on a national stage promoting a program. I did the things right because I mean, as a Black woman, I was taught to, if everybody else read one book in order to be successful, I need to read two. I was taught like all of these signs and signals that say work harder, do more, do more, do more. But the truth is, people don't get rich from working hard. And if working hard could save us, if working hard was the answer, there are so many hardworking Americans, so many hardworking people in our communities that we wouldn't have as many problems. And so I had to begin to really start thinking about what are my real problems, right? And for me, what I learned is if I am well, then I can basically handle anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm professional enough, I'm in a job that I can do, I have the credentials. But if my head is hurting, or I'm hungry, or I'm tired, that's what's going to kind of set it off. So we're like back at the original place we were before. But a really good example is that of this. I used to be a school teacher and I used to teach younger kids. And so it's like you might be willing to do this dance with little Willie every day, every day. But the one day that you're too tired to do the dance, that's the day that little Willie gets written up. But little Willie been doing this the whole semester, and he just thinks it's how y'all get on, right? But now you're tired, so you write him up. So really being aware of, am I ready for the day? And I found the best way to be ready for the day is to have enough sleep, to eat well, to work out, to really pamper and love on myself, to have good relationships with my family. Like, I'm better when me and my husband are great. I'm a much better person, right? So, really tending to that cup so that I can, and it's drinking as I pour, but really tending to that cup.
Absolutely. I love the drinking as you pour. That's amazing. My next question is, tell us about a defining moment that fundamentally changed your approach to leadership.
I've had a lot of defining moments. I feel like that's what the book is about, like all these different moments that kind of sort of made me. But in terms of this conversation that we're having, for me, a defining moment was getting on a scale, losing 70 pounds, and realizing like I'm still not going to look like a supermodel. I think that was a real defining moment for me to realize is that like each organization, each person, each entity, each thing, we got what we got. And we got to make what we got work for us. And that we got to do what we got to do for us. And so for me in my workout, it looks like, well, I'm 45, so I may never look like a supermodel, right? But I still have to lift heavy, and lifting heavy yields this what it yields for my organization, what it yields for my body. It's my route, my track, my journey around the organizational life cycle, if you will. And so that idea of that we got what we got, and sometimes we can get more. Sometimes we can do better. We can bring in other resources, but the reality is that we have what we really have. And how do we make the best of that? Utilize it coming from like an affirmative based model, coming from an asset based approach of this is what I have. So I get to be 45, I get to be fit, I get to climb a mountain with my mom. All right. I might not get the muscles, but the visual that I was looking for, but I get the substantial pieces of having good blood pressure and a good, you know what I'm saying? So really just for me, that was like a defining moment of you can work and work and work and work and work and work and work, work hard, may not change anything, or you may not be able to get exactly what you wanted, but there is something that you have. And every person and every organization and every group, there's something affirmative there.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And it definitely resonates with my approach as well as a consultant or coach. And I know you have this background as well. I don't really offer cookie cutter packages or programs because I have found that every organization is really unique and their wants and needs and goals and everything, and each person within each organization is so unique. So I loved hearing you share about that and your experience. Let's discuss your new book. Before we dive in, I want to give a little bit of context for this next question, especially for anyone who is listening who may not be from the Asheville, North Carolina or Western North Carolina area. As a little bit of context, the first chapter of the book is about Hurricane Helene, which was September 2024 and impacted our community of Western North Carolina as well as much of the surrounding region. And one of the things that came up for me in organizing this interview with you is realizing how maybe serendipitous it is that you and I are talking today. It's the first podcast interview for our Embodied Leadership group, but it's also the first live gathering of Embodied Leadership Collective since Hurricane Helene. So it's our first episode, it's our first gathering, and it feels really special to have you here as a local author to be able to share your experience of how that impacted you. But as I mentioned prior to our recording, I loved this chapter and it definitely got me a bit teary-eyed. And so I have to ask this question. What made you decide that the first chapter should be about Hurricane Helene?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. I'm really glad you like it because, we all experience this collectively, but it was all an individual situation. I'm sure when you were reading my story, you were like, for real, girl. And when I was reading your story, I was like, burned, she's burned. What do we do? Right. So it's like we experienced this together, but each of us have like just like our own individual stories. And I wanted this book to feel heavy. And I thought, okay, all of these stories are stories that I wanted to tell and I'd chosen to tell, but I wanted to let people know this is just not about race. This is just not about being a woman. Like, this is about environmental damage, systemic damage that wreaks havoc on all of us. And so I wanted to do that. And then I wrote it in second person to bring it closer to people because there are some people who've never been in a hurricane and they don't know what it's like for money not to work. And they don't know what it's like to go miles and miles and miles and not have internet. And they don't know, but if they're reading it and they're seeing themselves in it, then it'll be good. And then of course, I'm a writer, so I wanted to show I can write second person. I can do this because writing is a craft for me, much like surfing is a craft for you. Writing is something that I'm always striving to do, to be better at, to connect more with. And so I wanted to kind of, flex my little muscles or whatever.
I love it. It was such a great chapter and so well written. And I love what you said about the collective experience because I think it's really a reflection of our collective trauma and living in the United States and how collectively we are all sensing an impact in one way or another. But for each individual, it's different, the way the impact lands, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I love the way you framed it.
And I mean, especially just like between the two of us, right? So the hurricane came and now you're off. You're in the wayland and I don't see you as much and I miss you. And then the hurricane landed for me and I dug in and I was like, this is home and I'm gonna go on vacation here. And like this is so each one of us, we are collectively experiencing this trauma, but we're responding in different ways and we're growing in different ways. And so it's very beautiful to see. And it's healing. And one of the things I learned during the hurricane was like when we got out of here, like life was going on. Like nobody, when I got to my cousin's house and I was like, hey, I need to stay here. And I was feeling like the riffraff of the poor in like a plastic bag. And like I was like feeling destitute. And I was like, hey, like, I need to stay here. He was like, come on, stay. And so I stayed. But by the time we left, that's when it hit the news. And he called and said, "Oh my goodness. Like, I didn't understand. You just my cousin. You just came here. I felt like a beggar, right?" And then he's like, "Your town is underwater." Like, oh my goodness. Like, and so I just will say, like, I went through all these different emotions and experiences, and you would get maybe like 400 or 500 miles out, and it was like nothing ever happened. Maybe more than 400 or 500 miles. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but 600 miles out. You get 600 miles out, and everybody's day is going on just the same. And so it was a lot.
It was a lot. It still is a lot. We were talking about that
Yeah.
earlier before the recording as well. It's still happening. The impact is still happening. And so I'm really grateful to you for sharing your experience and continuing to tell your story. And it helps the rest of us who experienced it to feel seen and heard. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it.
I appreciate you for sharing your story and like I'm gonna go back to surfing was really inspirational to me because I have all these things I'm supposed to be doing too. And those reminders of us to work on our crafts, to do what we love. Like we have to keep each other lifted, keep each other inspired in that way. So it's not one way. This is definitely like a two-way conversation, which is that embodiment, right? That alignment, that purposeful alignment when we're all together and we are all leaning on each other in a cohesive system where everybody is contributing from an asset based perspective.
I love it. Thank you. Let's dive into a few more threads from the book. So, one of the topics that presents itself consistently throughout the book is your experience of navigating trauma as a mother, but in particular, navigating trauma as a Black mother. Can you share a few thoughts on how these experiences have shaped you as a leader, both at home and in the workplace?
Yes. Okay, let me tell y'all. I don't know if you watch the Martha Stewart special on Netflix, but Martha Stewart I love Martha Stewart. Judge me. But anyway, Martha Stewart was talking about how everybody says that she is mean and crass as a leader. And she was saying when she went to prison and she had to give her company up and she went to the warehouse and she got a teacup and she picked the teacup up and she couldn't get her finger in it. And so she was like, "This teacup is dumb. It doesn't work. Like, I can't even get my finger in it." Right. And so she's like, "You need to redo the design." And so people were like, "She's mean." And she's like, "No, it's not a functional cup. If people expect my stuff to be a certain way, blah, blah, blah." When it comes to my kids, it's the same way. And so, as a Black mom, I have a Black kid and I have a white kid, right? With my Black kid, it was fairly easy for me to navigate as a mother, but I raised him at a time between Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, Amir, like all of the people, Breonna Taylor. I was raising him at a time where Black people were being killed and he wanted to be free. And so that was more of my difficulty. He wanted to be a 16-year-old Black boy on a college campus, getting educated and doing his, just wanting to be free in a place where I wasn't sure that it was safe always for him to be free. And with my white daughter, I'm often, this is like the thread, or I would say that I have to remember. Everybody wants me to do a good job with her until I'm actually doing a good job with her by putting pressure on them because they're not used to a Black woman putting pressure on them for a white woman. And so that gets their head all discombobulated and jumbled up because yes, it's amazing what I'm doing. Yes, it's great that she's doing better. And yes, yes, until it's like, "I don't like the way you filled out this form," or "I don't like the way you did this thing." Then it's like, "Oh, you're asking me to change." When I wrote this book, when I finished it, I didn't know how much of it was about motherhood. I didn't know how much of it really was about that wanting to be free and that heaviness of being in the system. And so now, this new perspective I'm getting from my daughter as somebody who treads the line, she loses her privilege when they find out she has Black parents. And what does that look like? Because I'm expecting you to give her her privileges. So it's interesting. This is interesting. So yeah, I didn't know the book was so much about motherhood. I did not know that I had sacrificed so much of myself. I did not know that so much of my identity was wrapped up in it at the time because I have a husband and I feel like I have all this life. But when it got down to it, like at the end of the day, like my son is truly my first love.
Yes, to all of the above. I love what you said about how much of your identity was wrapped up in it. And as you know, I recently became an empty nester in the last year, and I had this whole realization of my whole identity has been wrapped up in being a parent for so long that I forgot who the rest of me really was. What was this whole life about besides being a parent? But I loved reading all the different threads about motherhood, and it was really special for me as someone who knows you, you know, in real life, and was able to both experience being a part of your life and then like being able to read these stories and just really see a little bit deeper, you know, into behind the scenes of your life and your experience. And it was really beautiful. I loved what you shared about your stories of being a mother. And there was another thread that you explore in a few different chapters of the book about your relationship with your own body. I know we touched on this earlier,
Mhm.
and I've heard you share about this topic at Creative Mornings in Asheville as well. But I would love for you to share with us a few words on how your own journey of healing your body has supported you on the path to leadership.
Yeah, I feel like, your body is the compass. It's going to tell you how much we can do, how far we can go, how long we can do it, if it's going to be fun when we get there. The body is communicating, all those things. And so for me, as a leader, as a mom, it's like a friend, the things that my body has taught me about, like discipline, about individuality, about male gaze, about femininity are all lessons that I've learned sort of on my own wellness journey. I'm down about 70 pounds. But like for me, it has been like the key to everything. Like functional strength is not something that women talk about. It's not something that we are taught. Like the way that I have to explain it to my husband is by 10th grade, you get this big biology book. The book is like this big and you have to carry it to class. But if you are popular, you'll find someone else to carry the book for you. You never think, I need to carry this book so I can get stronger. But the boys are always who can do the most push ups, who can flip the farthest, who can throw the ball. So it's kind of built in their imagination and play, this functional strength. Nobody tells a new mom, make sure you're lifting 3-pound weights every day so that you will be able to carry the car seat, right? Nobody's telling a mom that if you can't walk a mile, that's why going to the grocery store after work and going to the cleaners is hard because you need to be able to walk a mile so you can work all day and then go into the cleaners and go to the grocery store afterwards. Like those are physical labor things that aren't counted as physical labor things, right? And so we don't know how to increase, improve. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about functional strength. So, like your functional strength, or like lifting heavy and the benefits of that to mental health and self esteem, or the value of just like going outside and like taking a walk and what that does for your neurons and neutrons and your skin and your lungs and your energy and your creativity. So, like, taking for me, my body has been the compass for everything. And really, really, really for me, and it's hard. I lose a lot. But I've learned if I get good sleep, if I eat well, if I am like in that Maya balance, if my heart is light as a feather, if all the things are happening, then like what could be the problem? right? Because the organization already didn't have any money when I started. We were already behind on the documents when I got there. The state was coming, they was coming and coming. But if I am real rested, if I have eaten, if I feel good, if I'm cared for, I can stay up and work extra and not even have to complain about it because I feel great, right? Because I've been doing the things all the time that when that balance needs me more, it doesn't feel so pressing. I think what happens is we're already depleted when we start the race. So for me, I will say to you this. I went into and I was talking to these women, and they were like, "Why are you telling us this?" I'm like, "Girl, if you don't feel good, you cannot do good. You just don't feel good." Right? So for me, like my body, I wake up, I'm like, I check to see how well I slept. I can already tell you how my day is going to go. Then I'm going to go get breakfast. And depending on how my breakfast is, I'm going to let you know. Depending on my workout, like there's all these factors, right? But if I get in there and I eat good and I slept good and I've had a good workout, baby, ain't nothing gonna be harder than them 21 miles I rode on them Peloton. Bring it on, right? Bring it on. And so it's like for me, the body is the compass. It's gonna tell you how far we can go, how much we can do, how well we can lay track. Like, what are we doing today? The body will tell you. It will tell you, and it's scientific and it's in numbers and it is forgiving. It is forgiving. Like what a drink of water will do for your body. Look, what if you could do that for your bank account or your education, right? So it's very forgiving. And so I would just say, like, for me, the body is the compass of the day. It's going to tell me everything I need to know, period.
There's so many juicy threads from that answer. And one of the things you said was if you don't feel good, you can't do good. And it was reminding me of my own journey of burnout recovery that I've been in the last year, really since Helene. And one of the things that I realized is when I'm really burnt out and exhausted, it really prevents me from doing my best work. It really prevents me from showing up as a leader and showing up for my community.
Yes, rest is resistance, but rest is also a tool. It can be a tool for creativity. It
Mm,
is a tool for imagination and it is also a tool for innovation. So, because rest and play to me go hand in hand. And so, just knowing like when people are resting, they are not taking time out, they are on task.
absolutely. Yeah. So, the next question is the last chapter of your book is called Hellbenders, Butterflies, and Rabbits. I love the quote from this chapter that says, "I am not the dirt on my feet, wind in my dreadlocks kind of woman." This made me laugh because I loved having dirt on my feet and sand and wind in my hair. It made me laugh out loud to read that quote. But you shared how your grandmother inspired these reflections for you on being outdoors and being in nature. Can you share a few thoughts on how our relationships to the ancestors and our relationships to the earth can support us on the path to leadership?
Yeah, so yes, definitely not. I'm more so a rooftop bar nature lover. I want to be on a rooftop, having a nice drink, looking out at the nature from a distance. That's my kind of nature. But I married a mountain man and I came here and became friends with people like Sumaya. And y'all do really love like a good watering hole, a good hike, a good waterfall, a good trail. And that was something that was really new to me. And growing up, I like never really saw my grandmother be on the porch. You know, she would go to the porch, but not really like out in the wild. But my husband drags me out. He drags me out. He drags me out. And a lot of the times when I'm in nature and learning different lessons about nature, I'm learning about that relationship through my grandmother's eyes. And so, like, my grandmother would say these sayings, and she could say something, and it might be today that you get it because she spoke in so many like parallels and anecdotes and stories. And nature does the same thing. And so, After Helene, we were devastated. Our family was devastated. And I had guests here. My mom was here and my niece was here. My niece at the time was like 7 or 8 years old. And so she couldn't understand how a whole Walgreens would be swallowed up. She didn't understand when she was traumatized, she would like get on the nature app and she would be like, Aisha, it's going to rain in North Carolina today. You need to come to Alabama for safety. Like that, like truly traumatized. So I decided, because she would ask me, well, where's the mall? Like, every time I talked to her, she would ask me something about, because she couldn't really wrap her mind around what she was seeing. So I told her, I was like, this summer, we're going to go on a trip. We're going to go all around. We're going to see what the hurricane did. We're going to go all these different places. And so we started traveling all around. And so I think we went to about 20 counties, maybe, but just really getting to know our neighbors, really beginning to understand Western North Carolina, really doing the hikes. And my husband was in heaven. And I kept saying, like, where is the luxury? Right? Like, where is the luxury? Like, where's the wine? I'm like, me and mom, we're gonna go stop and get us some mojitos before we go out to the trail. He's like, girl, you're gonna die. It's hot. Um, so it's like, I didn't get it, but we went to I love butterflies. Oh, girls, we love butterflies. I love butterflies. So yeah, I saw these beautiful black butterflies. I'm a black girl, black butterflies. I'm like, yes, this is gorgeous. So I started snapping pictures of the black butterflies. I started doing research on the black butterflies. Girl, turns out the black butterflies are poisonous. Like the colors are to warn you that they're poisonous, right? And then we went to the nature center, and he's like, look, there's this salamander alien kind of looking thing. It's all wrinkly, folded up, called a hellbender. And he's like, look at it. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like a lizard. It looks ugly. Like, yeah, like whatever. But I snapped a picture of it, and we got back in the car and I researched it. And so what I researched and what I found was that hellbenders where they live are the sign of the highest quality of water. And if you've experienced a hurricane, if you've never been in a hurricane and been without water, you want a hellbender way more than you want a butterfly, because a hellbender means that there is water. And not only is there water, but it is the highest quality of water that can be found. So, yeah, like that lesson was very special to me because my grandmother used to say everything that look good ain't good for you, right? She would just say everything that look good to you ain't good for you. So them butterflies look real good to me, but those hellbenders are really good for me. And when we were here in Western North Carolina and we didn't have water, like you would have wanted to see a hellbender for certain. Because y'all, that means no restaurants. Like it's so hard to just like that means like no showers. It was rough. And so, yeah, like hellbenders and butterflies and rabbits. And I've been going out to this park for like 4 years and I saw a rabbit and I saw like 4 or 5 rabbits. And I researched and they're like, if you see a rabbit today, the rabbits have always been there. They hide there. They don't go too far from home. And I'm like, what other wonderful nature lessons have I been missing? So now, one of my hobbies is to really learn as much as I can about those that were here before us. And when I say that, I mean the ecosystem, the black bears, the eastern cottontail rabbits, the hellbenders, the black butterflies, and what lessons do they have for us? What do they have to tell us? And how can I create an environment where people who like me, who don't really like dirt on their feet, wind in their hair, but we really like to be in really pretty places like the Biltmore, say, how do we get those lessons from nature and take them back to our work too? So, yeah.
I love that chapter so much. And I have personally really benefited from my relationships to plants, especially in my path to leadership. One of the things that I've started doing the last couple of years is I will pick a specific plant and cultivate a relationship and learn more about it. And one of the plants that I had been working with was the plant thyme, THYME.
Mhm.
And when I started being in relationship with it, the lesson was how do I create a sense of more time and TIME and spaciousness in my day. And so I love what you said about each of these plants and animals in nature. Our ecosystem can teach us so much, and that's definitely been a really important part of my journey too.
Yeah, and it's like having that extra grandmother, that extra grandfather, that extra ancestor because it's right there in front of you. And it's like if you've lost a parent, if you're grieving, if you've lost a child, like it's just so important to get out there and to connect. Even if you're not the like me, the connecting type. I'm like, I'm out there, but y'all, I'm out there with like my Apple AirPods on and I am listening to Beyonce. So I'm not saying you got to go full on nature person, but I think it's important that you know you utilize it as a tool, just like you would use rest as a tool. Nature is definitely a strategy and a tool, and we need to have it in our arsenal.
Absolutely. What was your favorite chapter of the book to write and why?
So I don't have a favorite chapter because they're all my stories, but the entire book was a labor of love and I just feel really proud of it. Like I feel like I took my time and I created something. I had something to share. If you haven't had an opportunity to look, the book is 12 chapters, 12 different stories about my life and systems. And it's written in like a Southern literary tradition. And for me, it was just really about finishing it, like really being like, y'all, this is what I have to share. And then the joy of seeing my craft in action. Lots of people have said tears and moved to, and they felt this way about it. So just really having people read it was very special to me. Just like taking the time to read it. It's like, wow, you read it? Like, wow.
I did read it. It was so wonderful. One of the last questions that I have for you today is can you please share with us a quote from your book?
Yes, I'm going to share a quote from the introduction only because you shared it. And I just was like, oh, she liked that. So I'll share that. This is not a tea spill or a tidy lesson, not a celebration of survival or a curated success story. You may not find comfort here. If you read this as a tragedy, you've missed it. Sadness alone will not save us. Without action, justice stays blind. Systems keep devouring us. We know we are delicious. They shake us, bake us, chew us up, and leave scraps behind. What remains is a seasoned assortment of essays, wrapped in similes, warm in reflection. These are the leftovers I'm willing to share with you.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I love that quote
Thank
so
you.
much. And it's from the introduction, and I decided that I didn't want to give too much from the book away, so I just snuck a little quote out of the introduction. But even the introduction of this book is so good. You have done such a fabulous job of writing these stories and sharing them with all of us. And thank you so much for being here today and just sharing with us a little bit more about the book and your process and your journey. It's been wonderful to have you and have this conversation with you.
Well, I love spending time with you, my friend, and I'm glad to be able to be here and to be a part of your first podcast. So, congratulations to you, and I'm so proud of you, and you've really done it. So, that makes two of
Thank
us.
you. Thank you. Before we pause, can you tell people where can they find you and where can they find the book?
Yes, the book, This Is What Made Me: Surviving Trauma, Challenging Systems, and Claiming Healing, a memoir, is located wherever books are sold. You can get it from Barnes and Noble, you can get it from Amazon. Everybody's carrying it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'll just share a few words about our podcast. This is the first episode of the Embodied Leadership in Action podcast. To learn more and stay tuned for future episodes, please make sure to sign up for our free meetup group at meetup.com. You can search Embodied Leadership Collective to find us. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Present Moment Media. And if there are any of you out there who are listening who may be interested in supporting our podcast, we will definitely be posting and sharing more soon about how you can support our efforts and get involved. We'll be looking for speakers and strategic partners as well as sponsors in the near future. Thank you all so much for being here and for being part of our first episode at Embodied Leadership in Action.